When the B-52 Stratofortress first flew in 1952, few people thought it would still be flying strong more than 70 years later after the Cold War ended. And yet, here we are in the 21st century, watching this amazing plane not fade into retirement, but instead change in a way that could keep it flying until 2052 or even longer. The B-52 is a legendary plane that is coming back to life for a new century of service. The B-52's journey is as exciting as any story in military aviation. After World War II, tensions between the US and the Soviet Union grew. And the Air Force needed a long-range nuclear bomber that could hit targets deep in enemy territory. Boeing was the clear choice because they were already well known for the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-29 Superfortress. By the end of 1945, they were already making thousands of bombers. When new needs arose, they started working on something that was more powerful, faster, and could reach farther. The original plan called for a bomber with a crew of 5 or more, a combat range of 5,000 miles, speeds of about 300 miles per hour at 34,000 feet, and the ability to carry up to 10,000 pounds of weapons. But, like with most big projects, the goals change quickly. They soon wanted their planes to be able to fly at 400 miles per hour, go 12,000 miles, and most importantly, carry nuclear weapons. There was a big argument about engines that almost stopped everything. Should it use turbopropellers or newer jet engines? People thought jet engines were still fuel-hungry and unreliable at the time, but supporters like General Curtis LeMay pushed hard for jets, saying that improvements to the airframe would make them worth it. Boeing's engineers worked hard, used their imaginations, and did some tinkering in their garages to make what would become the B-52. At one point, the main group of engineers even made a model of the plane out of balsa wood and parts from a local hobby store while they were stuck in a hotel room. It sounds crazy, but that model helped them come up with the aircraft's now famous swept-wing design, 8 engines mounted in 4 twin pods, and bicycle-style landing gear with wheels on the tips of the wings. The US military knew they had something special when the B-52 flew for the first time in April 1952. The B-52 started flying in 1955 and quickly became well known. In 1957, 3 of them made history by flying around the world without stopping for less than 2 days. It broke many records over the next few decades, including a 12,532-mile flight from Japan to Spain without stopping to refuel. As time went on, the B-52 showed that it was not only tough and capable, but also surprisingly flexible. Before we move on, like the video and subscribe to our channel for more updates. No, let's move on with our video. The B-52H is the most long-lasting version of the bomber today. The TF-33 engines from Pratt & Whitney gave this model a big boost when it first came out in the early 1960s. These made it more fuel efficient and reliable than older models. Eventually, it could cruise at speeds of up to 650 miles per hour and travel almost 9,000 miles. The B-52H also got a Vulcan rotary cannon in its tail, better low-altitude radar, and terrain-following technology that made it better for modern combat. The B-52's story is still important today, even with stealth fighters and drone warfare. The US Air Force still depends on this plane a lot, which is affectionately called the Buff, big ugly fat fellow. Even though it's older, it's consistently done better than its younger siblings in some important ways. For instance, in the early 2000s, the B-52 was ready for more than 80% of its missions. While the B-1B Lancer was only ready for 53% and the high-tech B-2 Spirit stealth bomber was only ready for 30%. It's not common for any plane to be that reliable, let alone one that's older than most of its crew members. But even legends need to be improved. That's why the US Air Force started a plan in 2020 to replace the B-52's old engines. As part of the Commercial Engine Replacement Program, CERP, they asked for 650 new engines for commercial use. Rolls-Royce won the contract with their F-130 engines, which will make the B-52 much more fuel efficient, powerful, and long-lasting. Some experts suggested going from 8 engines to just 4 larger ones, but the Air Force decided to keep 8. If they had switched to 4, they would have had to completely redesign the airframe and control systems. This would have made the project slower, more expensive, and more complicated than it had to be. The B-52 is getting some cool new high-tech features in addition to the new engines. The new ANAPG-79B4A ESA radar replaces the old one. This makes targeting, tracking, and resistance to electronic jamming much better. This makes the bomber much more useful in modern contested airspace where enemies have high-tech defenses. You can also see that the bomber's nose has been cleaned up. The old fairings that held infrared and low-light cameras have been taken off. The sniper and lightning targeting pods are now mounted under the wings of modern planes. This makes them look sleeker and gives them better tools for precision missions. People have also wondered if the B-52 could carry hypersonic weapons in the future. Boeing showed a picture of new pylons under the wings that could hold the AGM-183 AARRW hypersonic missile. Even though the ARRW program has had its problems, tests that worked were still going on in 2024. The Heavy External Rack MHER is another project that Boeing is working on. It would let the bomber carry up to 20,000 pounds of payload on each wing. That kind of ability could make the B-52 ready for a lot of different weapons, even advanced missiles that the Air Force hasn't shown yet. People often think of the B-52's nuclear capabilities when they talk about it. The plane has been able to carry nuclear-tipped cruise missiles since the 1970s. These missiles include the AGM-69 SRAM and later the AGM-86. So, what does the future hold for the B-52? It's possible that this bomber could be in service for 100 years with all of these upgrades. That doesn't happen in aviation. Most jets are put out of service after 30 or 40 years at the most. But the B-52 is showing that even something made in the early Cold War can still rule the skies in the age of AI and drones if it is well cared for, upgraded wisely, and has a strong original design. people might wonder if the new B-21 Raider stealth bomber, which is just now joining the Air Force's fleet, will take the place of or overshadow the B-52. In reality, both planes will probably work together. The B-21 will be great for stealth missions deep inside enemy territory, and the B-52 will continue to be the reliable workhorse with unmatched payload and mission readiness. It's not often that a piece of military equipment goes from being a weapon in the Cold War to a modern multi-role platform with digital controls, smart weapons, and sensors that are next generation. The B-52 is no longer just a bomber. It stands for strength, creativity, and flexibility.